Hello, and welcome to R&D Logic's webcast on multidimensional targeted reporting and dashboards. I think we are pretty much ready to get started here. I see that most people are logged in to the meeting, so we're going to go ahead and get started. My plan for the next 30 minutes is to introduce you to R&D Logic, to provide a demo of our platform featuring multidimensional reporting and dashboards. You'll notice this word targeting in the title of our session today. This is basically to address the challenges that finance faces in preparing and delivering the right information to the right people. And of course, we want to be able to do that in an efficient and timely fashion, kind of an age-old problem and challenge for most finance teams. R&D Logic does exactly that, allowing you to design, to prepare, to deliver specific targeted information to support internal management and, of course, overall accountability. To introduce you to R&D Logic, I wanted just to tell you a little bit about our story. So R&D Logic is the only software company focused on the unique needs of the life sciences industry. With 18 years of experience, we've developed a suite of software and services specifically addressing the challenges an R&D intensive company faces. So currently, we have approximately $18 billion of R&D portfolio assets every year being managed in our software. So tried, true, tested, very good platform and software. This unique cloud solution features software services, all of which are industry specific, meaning we have life sciences business intelligence actually built into the software, all designed to modernize how your business and science teams can make informed decisions more quickly. Due to the industry focus and expertise, we have a strong presence in the life sciences industry, with companies ranging in size in terms of people, in terms of R&D spend, revenue, and portfolio activities. Included in this customer community are companies that have commercial operations. Some companies are specific to just the R&D process. We have companies that are large, small, public, private. Most are managing business activities such as government grants, collaborations, R&D tax credits, internal R&D efforts, of course. These companies are using R&D Logic solutions to manage the entire organization, not just R&D, however. So it's going to be a corporate solution for planning, tracking, reporting, of course, graphics, dashboards. So the first thing I want you to understand, again, is sort of the business functionality that's going on within this software. So short-term, long-range financial planning. So the FP&A function, we have very robust key activities functionality to do this process. Tracking and analysis, this is really the actual component. So we interface with your ERP system, we load that information in, make it viewable, to be analyzed, to be incorporated into a financial plan, reported, of course, and graphed and presented visually. We have, of course, project time collection tool where we're able to collect effort to projects and reporting and services. So ending this whole multi-dimensional view, whether we're talking about budgets, actuals, time collection efforts, it's all made possible by a platform designed to let you mix, match, and combine all of these elements. So we call this structure. Our platform is fully integrated with ERP, payroll providers, and any other sort of key internal business system that you may have where we have relevant information that is needed for, let's say, the planning process. At implementation, the software is basically configured to meet your business requirements. It's not just an out-of-the-box solution. We really work with you to incorporate your specific business rules. And then, of course, sitting on top of all of this is a product that we call Dimensions. And this is really what defines this targeted reporting and dashboard capability that we're going to explore further together today. Well, we started this company 18 years ago, and we started working with biotech and pharma companies. These were really the primary dimensions that we saw, and the key one being, of course, project, since it was virtually unavailable in any piece of financial software available on the market. So when we built this company and designed our software from the very beginning, we always did so with a multidimensional business approach in mind, which again is what makes R&D Logic tools and companies so unique in the software industry. However, many years later, today we see so many more dimensions being defined by our customers. People are managing their business now in all sorts of different dimensions, just a sample of which you see here. So these elements are being used for budgeting, to track those actuals, to collect project effort, to report and display information graphically. Really, really robust business requirement, and certainly you'll see today a robust solution to meet those needs. So we'll discuss key functionality, financial planning, tracking and analysis, time collection. We talked about basically our dimensions product, but now really what I'm trying to highlight here is basically all of these things are done in a multidimensional approach. Again, to facilitate the management of this matrix-based business, in most cases, R&D-intensive companies are managed in a matrix fashion, not only with an organizational kind of view and roll-up, but in addition to that, also this project or portfolio view. So we talk to companies all the time about the struggles that they have in preparing timely financial reporting. Let's just keep it simple like that. These are typically being done manually, regardless of how high-end the ERP system might be, like those using SAP, for example. I think it's actually probably even worse for them. Putting together meaningful information for department heads, program leaders, executive committees is extremely time-consuming. Being able to have that information, both actuals and planning, comparative, of course, and being able to do that with all of these many views that we just discussed are so important to facilitate running the business, that, you know, it basically can bring a finance team to its knees in terms of delivering this information in a timely fashion. Very, very difficult to achieve. So we continually, in all of these many years, we still every day talk to companies that are doing this in Excel, doing this manually, and are frustrated basically with the results. So when we say we have a solution for every role, we mean exactly that. So you design unique dashboards. You design these with key users or key roles in mind, some of which you see listed here, allowing users to directly access their specific dashboard designed by you specifically for them. So we're going to walk through some of these together today. So before I launch into the software, these are the four that I've identified that I thought would be great for us to walk through together today. Again, this is the targeted audience. So we're going to start in a dashboard designed for, let's say, you all, sort of key senior finance folks that are managing, looking always at the entire organization or the entire portfolio, who are interested in both actuals and planning information and headcount and account breakdowns and sort of all of it. We're going to then log in as a department head, so a functional leader that has a very different kind of interest. So just to their department, how am I doing versus my budget? Do I have a forecast? What are my headcount working on? I mean, really a completely different view. Then we'll log in as a program leader. Again, very view in terms of what's of interest to them. And then lastly, we'll look at what a C-suite person might be interested in seeing. Again, as you can imagine, all very different, different information relevant to these key people. So I'm going to leave the PowerPoint at this stage and launch into the product. So as we walk through this together, I'm going to log in and out of the exact same installation. This is just one of my demo environments. And if you want to track me, I'm working here on an environment called Demo 6, so you'll see me leaving it and entering it. I don't want you to think I'm going into different installations to show you data. It's one database where I'm, based on the user that I log in as, I'm going to be presented with completely different and, again, targeted graphics and reporting. So we're starting in that finance role. And first of all, let me just say that along the left-hand navigation, you're going to see the key modules in the software. So financial planning, tracking and analysis of actuals, project time collection, custom reports that may have been designed and built, interfacing with other systems, imports and exports of data, structure. Remember, this is sort of that platform we talked about that's going to have all the elements of your financials, so legal entities, cost and revenue centers, chart of accounts, project codes, vendors, all of those sort of structural elements. Access is, of course, where I might go to build these different kinds of roles that people will be given and allowing them to access. And then again, additional reporting capabilities. So pretty much the entire solution suite here on the left-hand navigation. In the dashboard, let's walk through some of these together. I'm just going to highlight a couple things, and again, we're going to just go in and out of different roles. So let me just highlight a few things that I think would be of interest to the finance user. So the top 3 graphs that I have here are basically budgetary graphs, and they're based on different dimensions. So we have the operating budget with an organizational dimension. We've got the operating budget with a project or portfolio dimension, and we have the operating budget with an account dimension, okay? So let's start with the organizational. You'll see here that basically the operating budget is broken down by, let's say, key business area. If I want to look a little bit more on what's going on in R&D, I have tabs that I could navigate to for each of these specific business areas. Now I'm looking at the budget by department within this area. So here's, of course, the clinical ops group. We're going to see this a couple times today together. Let's say I want to know what's going on in the clinical operations budget. And in this example, I'm actually basically now viewing the clinical operations budget by project. So even though I chose a dimension to start with, I'm able to add additional dimensions as I drill further into this graphic capability. So very, very unique capability to the R&D Logic solution. Now, if we look at the center graph, this is basically the budget by project or portfolio, whatever the view might be that you select. In this case, what I wanted to highlight was basically some methodology going on behind the scenes. If I mouse over the red section of this stacked bar, you'll see it says direct. These are items that I budgeted directly to this Hep C project. Now, if I mouse over the blue stack, you'll notice that it says indirect. This is a portion of the budget that was actually allocated based on maybe headcount or any other item that I budgeted as an indirect cost in the planning process. So in this case, built into the system is a methodology that project budgets can be derived from both direct items that may have been budgeted and allocation indirect cost. Okay, let's look here. The dimension on the right-hand graph is that of an account. Here are major account categories. If I go ahead and drill down, let's say on outside services, you'll see the next tab is basically outside services by account. And then I could, of course, look at outside services by project. So again, I start with one dimension and I'm able to navigate and add another. So let's look quickly at just the next level of graphs. These are basically now budget versus actual. So these are actual versus some kind of plan. Again, these graphs are designed by you. We build them and attach them to your dashboards, and then you're able to completely control, what plan you want to compare things to, what months of actuals you want to view. You kind of keep them maintained. So all very user-friendly. In this case, I basically can navigate again to the R&D portion of the organization or SG&A. If I wanted to drill down, I could drill down to data tables where I'm able to see sort of what department and where the variances might be coming from with Excel downloads, you'll notice. Each of these graphs can be, you could toggle between data tables and graphics as you see here on these icons. Any of these graphs can be downloaded as well. So I can just go ahead and download that graph to be used in any other presentation, for example. And then lastly, let's just go a little bit further down. These are just different budget versus actual type of graphics. We have sort of a waterfall view here where the blue line is the budget and the bars are the actuals. And again, each business area can be just navigated to very easily. So in one place, you've got all the information that you need. We're going to talk a little bit later about these sort of FTE graphs. But I wanted to go to look at some of these reports. So let's take a look. I've got a group report actual matrix, and when I mouse over it, you'll see there are two reports that are being prepared within this same group. let's look at them together. So the first is here, it's actuals, P&L, right? So I have actuals for the month of December, budget, variances, month and year to date for the year 2018. And then I've got, revenue, I've got R&D broken down by department, and I've got SG&A, and of course my bottom line, right? So pretty traditional P&L. But included in that same actual matrix group is also the same monthly information and year-to-date information, but this time put together with a portfolio view. So if you look at the R&D breakdown this time, it's based on a project or portfolio roll-up. So in this case, each individual project rolled up based on a hierarchy that I built, based on the stage that those projects might be in. So I'm looking at the R&D spend for basic research projects, those that are in preclinical and those that are in the clinical phase. So again, same information, everything's reconciled and ties out, but I'm viewing it in two very completely different ways. Okay, so let's go ahead and log out of this user. And we're going to log in next as the head of clinical operations, so I'm going to be a department manager. So I'm logging back in. And we're going to, again, walk through the dashboard here just so you can get a sense of how completely different we prepared information for this particular user. The first thing on the left-hand navigation you'll notice is there are way fewer options. This particular user can't do anything to import or export data from other systems. They're not accessing that structure module, which are all the elements of your financials. It's a much more simplistic navigation. They could work on their budget and they could view their actuals basically and look at some reports. But most importantly, we have a graphics dashboard available to them. So the first thing that I'm able to do, you'll notice this is just the clinical operations department, not the entire organization any longer. And I have budget versus actual for every month. And let's say I really want to understand a little bit more what's going on in these stacks. So I could basically toggle it to be with an account breakdown for each of these, so budget versus actual by month with major account categories you'll notice in the legend at the bottom. So let's say I'm not really interested in all other, and I feel mostly like salaries and benefits is also kind of out of my control, so I could, again, rebuild this graph as a user to really sort of hone in on what I'm interested in. And of course, I could also flip this and say, show me my budget versus actual for every month, but let's look at it by project. So again, I could take a look at, let's pull out other and take a look at what the key projects are and where I might be missing. For example, there's a lot going on here. I had no budget for small, for example. So for my specific group, I'm able to view my actual versus budget in total with an account breakdown and with, of course, the project breakdown as well. And then further, let's talk a little bit about the budget. So now we're looking at the budget for this clinical operations department. Firstly, I'm looking at it by project. Here's each of the individual projects that I have budgeted for. Let's say I want to just drill down a little bit more on this Hep C project. And you'll notice that that's broken out now between direct and allocated indirect. Kind of interesting. And again, I can pull out any of these categories as needed. Or I could look at the budget by account, right? So again, here's that large outside services category. Again, I'm in the clinical organization, so that's going to always be a big one for me. And then I could break it down by account. Site investigator fees is where most of that's happening. That makes sense. And then, of course, I could look at it by project as well. So really, honestly, in one place, I've got everything I need to know about how I'm tracking versus my budget and my commitment to the organization, and how I'm looking to the future to plan my spending, my resource requirements, both for my department in total, by account, and by project. And then let's take a look at some of the reports that are available for this department head of clinical operations. So at the bottom, now I'm looking at, again, I have another one of those matrix views, but this one's kind of cool because what I've done is I've said, you know what, again, as the head of clinical operations, so of course I'm looking at my actuals always versus budget or forecast. Month and year to date are always going to be important. My first breakdown is basically just that account breakdown, right? Traditional sort of financial reporting. But if you'll notice, as I scroll, I could look at my $1.4 million of actual spend for the month. And now I'm looking at it by project. So I have it not only by account, but now also by project. And then even I've grouped my projects by therapy area or by stage or by collaborator. You can build hierarchies of your projects in any way that you would like. And I'm also able to look big picture at the same monthly spend or the same budget, monthly budget by, in this example, a therapeutic area roll-up. So multiple views in one report of my organizational actual performance versus budget. And I also have the budget broken down in the same way. So a quarterly budget where I can look at how it breaks down by account, how it breaks down by project, how it breaks down by therapy area, for example. So again, as the department head for clinical operations, once finance loads in actuals, my budget's already been completed. I can access this information within an hour of the actuals being loaded or within an hour of the books being closed or whatever the case may be. Finance loads the information in. All these views are created. The graphs are automatically populated. It's available to me immediately. So extremely, extremely efficient and timely, which is one of the challenges for sure. Okay, so I've logged out. This time I'm going in as a project leader. And again, let's start by kind of looking at that left-hand navigation. There's almost nothing that the project leader can do here. In this example, I'm not having them work on the budget directly, although you could. I'm not having them view their spending online, although I could. I'm really just having them access the dashboard and some custom reports. So you're in complete control of how many features and functions each of these roles are given access to. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these unique views. So here I'm looking at project actuals, and I'm starting out by looking at it again by those account categories, and then each of these stacks are a project, and then I have a budget line here. So the line here is showing budget for each of those projects. And the account category is sort of always present, right? As finance folks, this is how we organize information. It may or may not be of less interest to the program leaders, but we can certainly say, you know what, they're not going to feel very compelled probably to manage facility-related expenses, and let's say even legal they feel is somewhat out of their control. So I can rebuild. I might even want to take out other because that looks pretty small. So I could rebuild this to really, again, focus what I want to concentrate on. Outside services, of course, always a big one. Employee-related expenses, always a big one. And then as I mouse over, I'm able to view the actual amount in each of these categories and, of course, the project and the category, the amount, the project code, for example. So very comprehensive, nice kind of big picture view of what's important to me. Now, as I scroll down, I have just the actual thing for the projects. This is kind of a different view of the information. Again, you can make these graphs also full screen if that's easier. Let's say that maybe a device that you're working on or another application or a presentation, or to facilitate conversation, you could always expand to these graphs as well. Let's take a look at this FTE graph. This one is kind of interesting. So the software allows you to collect information in terms of what people are working on. So we have a time collection tool where you are collecting FTE-related effort by project for actuals. And the software also allows you to budget and forecast resources to projects within a department, okay? So let's say, so here I have a BVA, of course, where I'm looking at actuals versus budget, but it's FTEs. But let's say really we want to look at a specific project, because I am a project leader here. And what I want to understand is, okay, I can see the budget is way higher, so immediately I want to know what resources am I not getting. I had negotiated with each of these functional heads that I needed a certain amount of FTE resource committed to my project. So I could click on the bar and drill down, and I could see the resources by functional area. So I had half a biologist, and I had anticipated none, so that's actually probably good news for me. Clinical group, I needed 3 people from there. I'm only getting half that. So again, that might be a problem. 6 people here, I'm getting a fraction. So basically, I could look at it functional group by functional group. What am I getting in terms of resources? What was I anticipating? And then I could even drill down further. Let's say I really want to know who are these people. So I can drill down further and see each individual within the functional expertise. So for clinical operations people, here are who they are, here's the fraction they're reporting spending on my project, and I had budgeted across the board 60% of these beyond my project. So something's off, right? And I could begin to do the analysis on what that might be or have the relevant conversations. So very useful graphical drill down capabilities. And again, as a program leader, I have at my fingertips really everything I need to make decisions, to move resources around, to anticipate problems, let's say, if I'm not getting what I need from a resource point of view. And then bottom here is just really a trending and FTE trend, so I could sort of see over time how have I really been utilizing or consuming resources. And then let's talk about some of the custom reports at the bottom of the page for a program person. So let's take a look at a portfolio view. Let's say we want to just look at, so the monthly portfolio detail is really going to be a report that we already saw. So it's basically R&D broken down by project and rolled up by stage. But let's say we are interested in understanding, looking at a P&L specific project. So here's my prostate cancer project. I've got some revenue related to this project, happens to be licensing revenue, and then I've got R&D basically by department with a bottom line profitability or loss for this particular project. So the software even is anticipating that project-based P&Ls are going to be important to you as the program leader, and I have, of course, that same view available from a budgetary point of view. So unique set of graphs, unique set of data being delivered to a unique user. Okay, and lastly, what I wanted to show you was a role that was really kind of a C-suite role. So we have customers that are basically presenting to their executive committee live data using these dashboards, logging in during the executive committee meetings, presenting, drilling, querying, showing information. And again, these graphs are designed by you, built by us, and put on your dashboard, so they can be anything you want them to be. So again, limited access from a software functionality point of view. I'm really, as a C-suite person, only interested in the information presented to me in pretty summary fashion. So I've got here a quarterly budget for the organization and including a cash flow forecast. So that's of interest to me, of course, at my level. Revenue is of interest to me, regardless of the type. I can zoom and get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of what might be going on there. The next set of graphs I've got are basically kind of a trending over time. So I've got 3 years in total. I've got 2017 actuals. Again, I'm looking at it by business area. So what is going on in the clinic, the preclinical portion of R&D, the research group, whatever business units you have within the company. I can look at 2018, so I've got 2 years, 18's budget I might want to still keep an eye on, and then again, what am I anticipating for 19? So however many multi-year trends might be relevant again, and you'll notice at the top I've got the toggle switches between data and graphics and download capabilities. And then from a project point of view, so as a corporation, we might all want to be focused on the same things, right? So Hep C is the project that I want everybody in the company focused on at all times. We are working on both infectious disease and oncology. So for my C-suite, I basically have pulled out the high priority programs, projects, or therapy areas, and I have actual versus budget available, again, broken down maybe by business area, broken down maybe by account. You have, as you know by now, multiple dimensions to pick from. But again, I've selected key projects, therapy areas to show the executive committee, in addition to, in this example, the 3-year trending information, in addition to cash flow forecasting. And then now when I look at my reports, I'll just pull up a budget matrix here so we could take a look at the budget, again, in multiple views with sort of a functional view by department, in addition to a portfolio view where I can look at that exact same budget, but put together based on, again, this is that project roll-up by stage that we looked at earlier, quarterly budget for the corporation. So given the audience, I've basically prepared and attached to the dashboard, unique reports for this particular C-suite style user. So that's really everything I wanted to go through in today's session. I'm very hopeful that you found this useful, that we've explained ourselves in terms of what do we mean by targeted reporting and dashboards, target specific and relevant information to specific people within the organization, and doing that in a very timely fashion to, again, facilitate the overall management of the business and to finally allow finance to be that strategic partner they're intended to be. So thank you all so very much for your time today. I do appreciate it, and I would look forward to hearing from any one of you who are interested in learning more and speaking directly about R&D Logic software and services. Thank you so much.